Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. I'm glad to have you all with us today, this evening. And we are here to talk about an interesting and, a topic which is less talked about and it is very difficult to understand. So, we are here to talk about metacognition. We usually define metacognition as thinking about thinking or learning about learning, but there is a lot more about it. And we have Greshma with us who is going to walk us through the process of metacognition. And she has promised to give us some wonderful strategies, which we definitely take back into our classrooms and bring in the process of metacognition in terms of experiences, abilities, and knowledge. So, over to you, Grishma. A very warm welcome to you. Grishma is an active leader and a teacher mentor, and we are more than happy to have you with us. Thank you. Over to you, Grishma.
Thank you, Asna. And yes, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining. So glad to connect it with educators from Bangladesh, from India, and across the globe. Yes, so yes, I'm based in India, based in southern part of India. I'm from Bangalore, and I'm involved in designing learning environments, scripting curriculum, teacher training, and conducting parents workshop. So, yes, I chose this topic, metacognition. Like as Asna has said, it's not much spoken, as well as yes, it's a little difficult topic for anyone to understand in just a period of say even 3 hours or maybe just a day. But my objective today is not to get into too much of technicality, but give you some strategies that you can implement it even tomorrow, even if you have not understand metacognition as a concept. You can still implement it in your classrooms. Yes, so this topic is little technical, so there will be some points that I have to share it with all of you when it comes to metacognition, but I'll try and limit that and focus more on the strategies. Okay, so let's start. So today's topic is metacognition to promote learning. Now, metacognition is a term that was first coined in 1979 by John H. Flavel. So, what is metacognition? Before we move ahead, today's agenda is that we will be talking about what is metacognition, why is this important, and then we will discuss about metacognition in early years, where I will share in approximately 8 to 10 strategies with you, and then we'll focus on metacognitive strategies that primary, middle school, and high school teachers can implement in their classroom. So that's the agenda for this session. And the first topic is, what is metacognition? As Asna said, it is about thinking, knowing about knowing, cognition about cognition. I know it sounds very, very vague. Yes, but let's keep in mind that this term was coined way back in 1979. So, what is metacognition? In a layman's term, it is knowledge and understanding of what we know, how we think, and it also includes the ability to regulate our thinking as while doing our work or on any task that we are doing. So, metacognition refers to a high level of thinking that involves active control over the cognitive processes that we need while to get engaged in learning. Okay, and metacognition consists of two main dimensions, that is metacognitive knowledge and self regulation. Yes, please pay attention to these two dimensions. These are important terminologies when you are talking about metacognition: metacognitive knowledge and self regulation. Okay, what is metacognitive knowledge? It refers to what individuals know about themselves. Okay, What we know about ourselves as cognitive processors is metacognitive knowledge. And it includes three major dimensions. So, metacognitive further includes three major dimensions, that is, declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge, and conditional knowledge. Stay with me. I hope everyone is with me. So, first comes metacognition. Under metacognition, there are two dimensions: metacognitive knowledge and self regulation. Now, under metacognitive comes three more dimensions, that are declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge, and conditional knowledge. Okay, so let us look at each one of them. What is declarative knowledge? It is it is something that it is related to knowledge about oneself as a learner and factors that influence our performance. That is declarative knowledge. What is procedural knowledge? As the term says, it is basically procedures on how to perform a specific task. And what is conditional knowledge? It refers to knowing when and why to use a skill or a strategy. Yes, conditional knowledge is all about application of what you've learned, like, when to use the skill, why to use a skill, or why we can use the strategy. So under metacognitive, it comes declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge, and conditional knowledge. Let's go on to self regulation. Self regulation refers to how well students can control their own learning mechanism. I'll repeat myself. Self regulation, it refers to how students can control their own learning mechanism. And it includes three essential skills: planning, monitoring, and evaluating. Okay, so planning has to do more with the appropriate selection of strategies for an effective performance. We need certain strategies if we want to perform better for student achievement. So that is planning. Monitoring is that concerns a person's awareness of comprehension and task performance. That is monitoring. And evaluating is about the product appraisal of a student's work and the efficiency of own learning. Yes, this is little technical and it is little haywire, but just keep this in mind, because when we are learning about strategies, you will be able to connect it with this theory part better. Okay. Next, why is metacognition important? Why is this difficult and technical topic important for us educators to learn? That is what we are focusing on in this slide. Okay, so first is independent learning and resilience. So when teachers facilitate metacognition psychology, within the students, it helps students to learn independently. You know why? Because as students, the students can monitor their own academic progress and also enable them to control their own learning. And this strategy also increases their resilience in improving their performance, after identifying their strengths, their weaknesses, their successes, and their failures. As we learned in the first slide, that metacognition is a lot about self awareness. Now, when children are more aware about their learning, about their academic progress, about their strengths, about their weaknesses, they are able to learn independently and become more resilient. Okay, so that's the first importance. The second importance is it promotes comprehension and it actually deepens the learning of any concept that you are teaching in the classroom. So metacognitive strategies will actually promotes comprehension of the student. And I'm sure we all understand and we all are aware that the comprehension of this material, of this learning material, is the overall goal of the education, is the overall objective, that the students should be able to comprehend the learning material, right? So metacognitive strategies are very easy, and it actually engages the learner. For example, even when you are doing reading activity, when you implement any of the metacognitive strategy, they are able to comprehend the text and they are able to pay attention to what they are reading. Okay, and so that is the second importance. The third importance is greater potential for empathy. Now, as you better understand your own thinking, when you know your thought process, when you know your strengths, your weaknesses, your success, your failure, when as a learner you know all of this, we may develop a greater sense of empathy for other people. Watching your emotions go up and down, following your thought pattern, and engaging in some form of self monitoring, all of this actually helps us realize that maintaining mental health and happiness can sometimes require a lot of work. Yes, it's not easy. So with that realization, when you realize that to become happy, or to have a stable mental health, it's a lot of work. And when you realize that, you show empathy because you understand what others are also going through day in and day out. So that actually when children are exposed to metacognitive strategies, there are greater potential for empathy. Their empathy increases. Okay, so these are the three major. There are many more advantages of it, but I didn't want to get into more technicality, so I am sticking to three major importance or benefits of metacognition. So which is independent learning and resilience, promoting comprehension and deepen the learning of any concept, and of course increase in empathy in and knowing more about people, understanding the people well. Let's now look at the different strategies. So we will first start with metacognitive strategies in early years. So researchers claim that metacognition play a very critical role in students' memory. And when neuroscientists, when they talk about children's metacognition, what they mean, or what they are actually talking about, they are talking about the infrastructural elements. For example, like the working memory, rather than higher order components such as planning and organization. No, they are not talking about that. They are just talking about working memory and the basic elements of brain. Okay, so let us look at some of the metacognitive strategies that we can implement in early years. So the first one is retrieval practices. One of the best ways to promote long lasting learning, or increase the retention of any information, is to have children or students retrieve the key concepts from the memory. They should be able to retrieve the information that they are exposed to, and that promotes long lasting learning. So activities such as brain dumps, quizzes, flashcards, where children are trying to recall the information, these are called retrieval based activities, and they are effective learning activities. So some of the examples are brain dumps, quizzes, flashcards, who am I riddles that we ask children. All of these are retrieval practices. The second strategy is think aloud protocols. Now, what are think aloud protocols? it basically involves the verbalization of thinking. Basically, like the term says, think aloud, like saying out what you are thinking during any reading material, while you are reading, or while you are problem solving, or you are doing any cognitive task. So in simple language, think aloud is just like, eavesdropping on someone's thinking. Yeah, just listening what others are thinking. So with this strategy, teachers can actually verbalize or say out loud while they are reading something. Like, when they are reading something, they can select a particular task, and after reading, they can think aloud with them. What do they think about this particular text? Now, their verbalization actually includes describing things that they are doing as they, read to monitor their comprehension. Now, this actually helps students learn to monitor their thinking as they read, and also improves their comprehension. Especially in early years, the teachers will have to first demonstrate how to do it to children. Okay, this is a wonderful strategy for metacognitive strategy. I would suggest you to go on YouTube. There are some videos wherein teachers are actually doing this strategy. So you will get a better idea of, how to actually think aloud and how to use this strategy in your classroom. Okay. Second is metacognitive questions. Now, developing metacognitive skills, it starts with using effective questioning in the classroom. Now, these questions actually develop learners' reasoning skill, of course, because they will reason out your question. They develop their thinking skills, and also indicate that there are multiple approaches to any problem, or to any math problem. There are different approaches. So the exploratory language that is often used in open-ended questions in, primary school, it actually invites reflection. So for example, when you are giving Play-Doh is an important material or an activity in early years, right? Almost every day, early years children get to create and play with Play-Doh. So if they are playing with Play-Doh, here are some questions that you can ask. Here are some metacognitive questions that you can ask. How did you feel when you touched the clay? What was it? How did you feel it? Was the clay soft, or it was hard? It is rough? It is smooth? Give them more options. What can we do to make the clay or the Play-Doh more softer, more smoother? Or, if they have created something out of Play-Doh, you can also say, like, what else can we do with clay, or what else can we create with this Play-Doh? So metacognitive questions are, these are just examples, because Play-Doh is a very common activity. I took this as an example. For every activity, there would be certain questions that you can ask before the task, during the task, or after the task. Okay. Next is the fourth strategy is mental images and charts. Yes, this is something that we use. We put up all the charts, and this is a wonderful technique for metacognitive strategy. The fifth strategy is drawing and telling technique. There are many cognitive techniques that are studied in early years, and this is one of the most important cognitive strategy, which is drawing and telling technique. You can ask children to draw how they are feeling, and then explain it what they have drawn, because it actually encourages self reflection, and it also helps the young learners to actually vocalize or verbalize or show evidence of their mental activity. If you have taken them for a field trip, once they are back, ask them to draw about what they have seen, how did they feel, so that their experience about about the field trip, because in earlier children are not able to write and express, so it's basically drawing and expressing their emotions. Okay, the next, the sixth metacognitive strategy that we can use is creating a metacognitive environment. Now, Piaget believed that metacognition naturally developed in children because they realized others had different point of view. Now, allowing children to talk about what they are doing, and actually giving them an opportunity to share ideas with others actually facilitate this growth, actually develops their metacognition. So, for example, show and tell activity, where you ask them to get their favorite toy from home, or just allowing them to talk about their favorite festival or favorite family member, and then framing certain questions where they are able to share more about their feelings. So a learning environment that actually provides them a culture that encourages mistakes, and revisions also support metacognition. So through revisions, what we call recaps or recall activity, and through multiple attempts, these earlier students start recollecting related information, and they actually notice that they are doing so they also become more aware of their memory. So show and tell is a wonderful activity where you encourage them to share their ideas, even when if you're coming up with a problem, and then ask them to discuss and brainstorm ideas. This is how we can create metacognitive environment. The seventh strategy is awareness of knowledge and thinking. Now, prior to understanding that they are thinking, children actually need to become more aware that they possess knowledge. They should be aware that they know they have some knowledge. So, as a teacher, you can actually help them demonstrate their knowledge by just pointing it out. If the child has found a matching card or something, you can say, oh, you just knew where to find the matching card. Or you can even ask questions like, do you know how many more need to be added so we get 5 crayons? How many more crayons we need to add? Or even during reading, while you are doing reading or you are telling them story, you can ask questions about the content of the reading material or the content of the story, like what is the name of the character's sister, or what is the name of the character's dog. You can ask them these questions because it also tells them that they know, they have knowledge. And to help early learner students aware of their own thinking, you can also demonstrate your awareness of your thinking. So think out loud in front of the children, and you can even encourage them to do the same. For example, you can say, I was just thinking that let's do a fine motor activity now. What do you think about it? Which means you are also thinking aloud with them, and then you are also encouraging them to think, right? So this is how you can demonstrate. Or when you are reading, or you are telling a story, after you finished reading or telling the story, you can ask questions about what do you think the character is feeling, or what do you think is the character thinking about. So these questions also encourage them to think. So seeking verbal responses from students allow them to hear each other, and also consider like different perspective, and ask different questions to different children, so that they also consider different perspectives. The eighth strategy is reciprocal teaching. Now, this strategy allows students to take on the role of a teacher and actually attempt to teach learning strategies to other students. For example, if you were doing reading, or if you were doing telling story, they will take on the role of yours and they will say the story. Yes. So they can this can actually help metacognition by deepening their knowledge and understanding what they are speaking or what they are learning. I'm sure you must have always heard that when you are reading or learning something new, when a new information is are you imbibing, if you immediately teach the same information, there will be more. You will be able to retain that information more, and that's what reciprocal teaching is all about. Okay, so here are some strategies that can be used in earlier classroom. This can be also used in higher grades also, but I've put it under early years because this is something that is little easy to implement in early years. Okay, in primary, middle school and high school grades, the strategies are a little more challenging. Okay, so retrieval practices, think aloud protocols, metacognitive questions, mental images and charts, drawing and telling technique, metacognitive environment, cooperative learning, visible thinking routines, knowledge and thinking awareness, and reciprocal thinking. Here are some of the strategies that can be implemented in early years. Okay, let's go on to metacognitive strategies for other grades. And by other grades, I mean primary, middle school, and high school. So, the first step is to tell learners about metacognition and model the process in your own work. Now, you can also use a gradual release approach. What is this approach all about? So, metacognition is actually a natural part of the learning process, but however, some students actually need additional support to see or to experience what exactly is metacognitive thinking or what it actually looks like. Now, teachers can model metacognitive thinking by, walking students through the process verbally and making the process visible for students. So it shouldn't be like an isolated lesson plan or a separate lesson plan on metacognition, but it should more be an integrated part of your direct instruction and checking for understanding. You can also model the whole process in small groups, or sometimes if you have time you can even do one on one. In some cases you can also provide scaffolding because this stems from graphic organizer, and children get an entire idea about what metacognition is. And it also helps to provide specific metacognitive strategies and structures, and this will only help students to assess their own task and actually plan the whole approach towards learning. For example, you might help students learn how to look at a complex task, give them a problem or a task, and ask them to develop a to do list or a checklist. So you can model them, you can demonstrate how to develop a to do list or a checklist, and they can actually observe you and then learn how to make to do list and or a checklist. So that is step 1. The second step is teach learners about the types of strategies they can use to learn and to study. Now, of course, as you might be aware that these strategies cannot be implemented in early years, right? So, but can be easily implemented in higher grades. Now, once children are aware of what metacognition is all about and how it can help their own learning, we need to teach them certain strategies that can also help them to learn better or study. So the first one is skim survey. Now, how to use this, basically how to use this strategy, it's actually searching for headings or highlighted words or previews and summaries. And when can student use this strategy? Before they'll read a long piece of text. And why is this strategy so useful? It gives an overview of the key concepts, and it helps students to focus on the important point. So this is a strategy that for learning, that we need to teach our students how to study, how to use this strategy that promotes learning. The second strategy is slow down, stop, read, and think about information. So, when information seems very, very important, and if the student realizes that they haven't understood what they have read, they need to stop. They need to read again, and then they have to think about the information. So it improves their focus on important information. So that is the second strategy that we can teach children how to learn. Okay. The third one is activate prior learning or prior knowledge. So, how to use it? Stop and think about what you already know about a topic, right? That's what we do in our lesson plans also. Before we start any topic, we ask certain questions about the topic to children to understand or to activate their prior knowledge. And this is a technique that we need to teach our children in primary, middle school, and high school. So, how to use it? Stop and think about what they already know about a topic. So, before they read something or do an unfamiliar task, they should pause, they should stop, and they should think about it, like, what they already know about it. Now, this strategy helps them make new information little easier to remember, and also allows the students to see link and connection between the subjects and information. The new information that is coming their way, it feels less daunting to them. Okay, because you know that you already know something about the topic. So the fourth strategy that we need to teach children is fit ideas together. So, how can students use this strategy? They can relate main ideas to one another. They can look for themes that actually connect to the main ideas or a conclusion. So, when thinking about some complex information, and when deep understanding is required, this is a strategy that students can use. So once they know how ideas are related, they are easy to remember and learning happens. It also helps them to learn more deeply about any topic. And the last strategy that we can teach the children is draw diagrams. So basically, they can identify main ideas, connect them, classify ideas, decide which information is most important and which is supporting. All of this is how they can use draw diagrams. So when they can use this strategy, when there is basically a lot of factual information that is interrelated, they can use the diagram. Okay, they can create a diagram and put the information accordingly. There's basically your mind maps, or even a graphic organizer. All of them can be used. It helps to identify main ideas and organize them to categories. So it helps them to reduce the memory load. And when the text is in the graphic, it's put in categories and it is sorted properly, it's easier to remember, because you are also visualizing the whole information and creating a mind map. So these are the 5 strategies that we need to teach higher grades. Yes, so that's step 2. Step 3 is actually helping learners to learn regulate their thinking as they work on any task. Now, we learned about this in self regulation, right? This includes planning, monitoring, and evaluation. Now, we need to support the learners in planning, monitoring, and evaluation. So, there are certain questions that you can ask them that will help them to plan, to monitor, and to evaluate. So the first point is, what is the nature of the task? What is my goal? What kind of information and strategies do I need? And how much time and resources I need. So when the learners are answering this question, they are doing the planning of a task, planning of an activity, and planning of learning the new information. Next is monitoring. When they are monitoring, these are certain questions that they can ask. So, do I have a clear understanding of what I am doing? Or, does the task make any sense to me? Am I reaching my goals? Or do I need to make changes? If you remember, self-regulation was more about, metacognition was all, conditional knowledge was all about, accessing or understanding the academic progress of one own self, right? Next is evaluating. How do I evaluate myself? Have I reached my goal, right? What worked for me? What helped me reach this goal? Or what didn't work for me at all? Or could I do some things very differently next time when I'm doing the same task or same activity? So when children are actually answering these questions, they are planning, they are monitoring, and they are evaluating. Okay. Next, step 4 is the teacher needs to show that I value metacognition in my classroom and mentoring relationship. Yes, and these are the three strategies that you can use to show that you value metacognition. So the first one is 3-2-1 summary. So basically, three questions that they need to answer, the students need to answer. What are three ideas that have captured your attention from today's class? So you can give this question to the children and ask them to reflect and write down in their journal. What are the three ideas that have captured your attention from today's class? Second is, what are two questions that you are still thinking about related to these topics? And the last question is, what is that one thing that you will remember long after this class is over? So, if you actually see, it's a summary of what they have learned, what they have understood, or what they have not understood, and what they will remember from the concept that you have taught in the class. And the first question asked about three questions, three ideas. The second question asked about two questions. And the last one was, what is that one thing that they will remember? So that's why it's called 3-2-1 summary. And the second strategy that you can use is minute paper. This is also one of the activity that you can do with children. So you can tell them to answer the next one or two questions in one or two sentences only. So the question can be, what is the most useful or meaningful thing that you have learned from today's class discussion or today's concept? What is the most useful and meaningful thing that you've learned? The second question could be, what questions do you have about today's discussion that you would like to be answered before we move on? Now, when children are answering these two questions, the first thing is you will know what they found most useful from today's concept, right? And second, what are their doubts? Okay, so and children will be able to explain it in one or two sentences. So this is also one of the activity that you can do. And the third strategy for this is end of the week exit ticket. So exit tickets are basically a tool to collect for collecting formative assessment data and checking in with students. So We as teachers can also use exit tickets to create a routine that encourages children to think about what they have learned, how they learned it, what questions they still have, and how they might actually teach this to their peer, to their classmates. So, end of the week tickets can encourage a very quick and a reflective practice, while also providing teachers with a very valuable information about what their students think that they are learning, what is important for them in this concept. So, if you look at all the three activities that I mentioned here, it's more about reflecting. Yes, it's more about being aware of their own knowledge, of their thinking, of their strengths, of the areas that they have not understood. Yes, so this is a very valuable step for teachers, and this is something that you can, so you can use any strategy that you want, any of the three strategies, because if you keep using the same one, it gets a little boring for children. So you can keep changing the step 4 activity. So here were the 4 steps, along with the strategies, in which to tell you how you can implement metacognitive strategies in the classroom. And what are some of the other metacognitive strategies that you can use? One is learning or thinking journals, right? When you want them to reflect, journal is important. So journals actually help, students to develop their self awareness. It improves their ability to plan, to monitor their progress, and it promotes skills that are required for self reflection. So you can even ask certain questions, weekly questions, to for them to reflect on, or you can just sometimes give them a free hand to write about their experience of that whole week in the journal. Yes. Next is visualization. So it's important to practice visualization with every age group. So because visualization is a very critical component for metacognition, because it helps improve executive function skills. So you might simply ask students to start a class or your period by visualizing what they will accomplish in this class, and this will actually help support the whole idea of developing a plan or an approach. But however, for a long term planning, you might want to have students sketch out their plan, okay, through diagrams or through mind maps. I also saw, I went for an observation. I once saw a teacher who had students sketch out a large calendar on a paper, and then they created stick figure sketches as they broke down the tasks. So each day students would unroll their paper and then review their visual planning document. So there are different ways to do it. And the last strategy that I would like to share with all of you is smart goal setting. We already know about SMART goals, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely goals. So, just like us adults hoping to advance their careers, goal setting is such a powerful practice for students as well. They need, of course, but it's a powerful practice, but they actually need structure and support in articulating the goals that are smart goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Too often, the goals that students set for themselves are either too general or too lofty or too difficult for them to achieve in the foreseeable future. So students who do not set goals may lack focus or motivation to really face challenge, and students who actually set unattainable goals which they are not able to reach, they may get discouraged and frustrated. So starting the pre period with a smart goal setting session can actually help students focus their energy on specific goals that they want to accomplish or work towards. And these goals can be academically or more personal goals or behaviorally achievable goals. So, here are the strategies that all of you can implement in or middle school, primary school, and high school. So, here we come to the end of the session. I understand that this topic was a little technical, but I try to give you as many strategies as possible without focusing too much on the content, so that at least you can, I'm sure you will be able to implement at least one strategy tomorrow in your classroom. So I hope this session was very, very helpful and useful. Thank you once again for joining me in this session. I also would like to thank viewers that are watching this session later on, not at the live session, but at later time also. I hope it is equally helpful for you all also. And thank you, Asnaha, for inviting me to your community.
Thank you, Greshma, for such a power-packed, session. And I love the strategies. Those are low prep and easy to use, quick strategies which anyone can use. Here, I just want to conclude the session with a token of appreciation for you. So allow me to present that.
Sure.
So I would like to present a small token of appreciation for you. Can you see that? Is it
Yeah,
visible?
it's just, yeah, it is now visible.
Yeah, it takes time. Yeah. Thank you so much. This is a small token of appreciation from all of us. And if you have any questions, educators, you can ask. So we have people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Dubai. So
Whoa.
it's wonderful for have yeah, it's wonderful that they all have joined us on a weekend. So that shows how enthusiastic they are for learning. So here I just want to conclude. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So, like educators, if you really want to make your learners lifelong learners, self-directed learners, so metacognition is something which you should and you must implement. Grishma has shared hands-on, easy-to-use strategies for all levels, right from early years till middle school. And I'm sure she has enough in her bag to come again and share something more with us. It was wonderful, Grishma, to have you with us. And people are asking about my presentation at Classipy. So yes, I'm presenting at Classipy after a long break because I was struggling to manage time. So the session details are there in the chat, and I'm also going to share a small video which Classipy has requested to share. And it's an amazing platform. Grishma, you also can try presenting.
Are you an educator?
Yes. Video is not playing. Asna.
Yeah. Is it not visible?
I can see your screen, but the video is not playing.
Oh, why is it so?
Not
Okay,
sure.
let me check. Let me check back again.
Are you an educator looking to take your teaching to the next level? The Class
Explain me.
CPPD Collective is here to help. This free professional development event is tailored for educators who are passionate about learning and want to stay current with the latest strategies and techniques. Hear from our experts and gain valuable insights from your peers. With a diverse range of workshops and sessions, there's something for everyone. Experience hands on learning, explore new technologies, and take away practical tools that you can immediately implement in your classroom. Don't miss out on this opportunity to grow as a professional and make a good impact on your students' learning. Register now for the Class CPPD Collective. See you at the event.
So the link is there in the chat box, and I can't thank you enough, Grishma. Would you like to conclude by saying bye bye to everyone?
Yes, I just saw all the comments when
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
so
saw
let
it
me
after
let me
my.
let me show those comments to you. It's wonderful, to show those. So we have Surekha from India. Hi, Surekha. Then we have Palash from Bangladesh. Then we have Sirisha from India. Madhavi from Dubai. Then
Oh,
we have Rajani, Marisa, Yasin, Uzala,
wow.
and then we have,
So
yeah,
happy to see. In fact,
yeah,
someone has
so
also
many of them
commented.
join us, and
Mm,
many of them will watch us later, and
yes,
that's wonderful. And we would like to have you back with us. And people are appreciating you like anything. Marisa wrote very insightful session, lovely informative session. Madhavi said, and the
yeah,
session was good. Grishma, happy to see you. Wonderful. Thank you.
nice, nice.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much for all the wonderful feedback, and I'm so glad to connect with educators, across the globe. Thank you so much, Asna, for this wonderful platform. And I'm following your work, and I'm a silent observer of your work, and I'm a
Wow,
fan
that's
of yours for sure.
thank you, thank you. Same here, same here. We all are fan of each other. We are here
Yes,
to make that change. So we would love to have you back again, and do join Classic Collective, everyone, because the session is free. That's the reason
yes,
I'm promoting it. So whatever comes for free for educators, I love it. So do join that session. Wonderful. See you
definitely.
again, Grishma. Bye bye, everyone. Have a good day, good
Bye.
evening, night.
Bye.
Bye.